Hi guys, my name is Nicolette Bashile. I am also known as the Financial Bunny. Welcome to the Financial Bunny TV. Today on the channel, we're asking the question, what makes a property a good investment? Now, do remember that none of my videos constitute as financial advice. If you are looking for financial advice, please speak to somebody that is certified and registered with the FSCA to be able to give you that financial advice. And over and above this financial planner or advisor that you're going to be speaking to, please do get in touch with a property specialist who may assist you in this regard. And we've got somebody that is a property specialist that is in partnership with us on this video, and that is Rabie Group. They are a property company, and they've got an amazing new development called 9 Palms down in Cape Town. It is in the smart city of Century City, there by the Ratanga Junction. Now, if you look at the the palms, right, the palm trees, they're actually just slightly younger than me. I am older than a tree, guys. I cannot believe it, but it's just an absolutely great space. And when I talk about smart city, I also talk about smart safety, smart security, smart connectivity, smart communication, smart urban management, precinct management. So there's quite a number of, taking the word smart to a different kind of a level. And I think you can already start to get an understanding of when we talk about a good property investment, what exactly is it that we're looking at. Now, obviously, I was lucky enough to start investing in property quite early. And one of the things that I found out is that so let me maybe take it a couple of steps back and talk about my first property, right? My first property was bought with a tenant, right? So it was priced well, and I thought, yes, I've got a tenant already, so I'm well within my property business. I'm going to be getting rent every single month. And then what happens is, you find out for the first time that more than just the purchase price, they are the running costs of you keeping the property. So it's paying your levies, it's paying your rates and taxes. And then, of course, it is also the rental that is already existing because, as I said, I actually inherited a tenant. So when I started looking at the numbers, they were not coming together. And I was like, what's happening here? And often a lot of us get ourselves in that situation where we don't first determine whether or not the property that we are buying is a good investment or not based on our financial objectives and goals or our investment goals. I'll give you another example. A cousin of mine once said to me, Nicolette, I've bought a property, a 2-bedroom apartment in the Kempton Park area, but unfortunately it is bonded and financed. And when I actually collect the rent and I have to pay the levies, I have to pay the bond financing, and I have to pay all of the running costs, I actually am in a shortfall. I'm not making a profit from this property. Do you think it's a good investment or not? And I had to sit down with her and say, what are your investment objectives? What are the goals that you are trying to achieve? Because once you start reducing the liability that you have on the property, you could potentially get to a point where you are breaking even. But if you need it right now to make you money and be an investment that is giving you an income every single month, that's a different conversation. And you've got to re-look at how you are actually going to be buying and investing in property. Now, one of the things that I was reading up on lately is this idea of us differentiating between good debt and bad debt, right? But we must remember that debt comes from a credit facility, right? So if you are going to actually determine whether something is good debt or bad debt, you need to, from a foundational phase, from the credit agreement, fix it there so it does actually stay good credit and moves into good debt, right? Because we know that the definition of good debt is that if you are buying something, so you're using the principle of leverage and you are buying an asset, or you're putting money into an asset that is going to eventually appreciate in value and become slightly above what the cost of purchase or the cost of financing is. So a house would be something like that, where you are taking up a facility of a home loan, you're turning it into a bond, so you have those monthly liabilities. But eventually, when the cost is now put on the side and you've got this asset, it is going to be more valuable than the cost of the actual purchasing, right? So, but however, it is important to make sure that the credit agreement is correct. And I call the credit agreement the foundation, right? You got to get a good interest rate. You got to get the good time period for this loan. So all of those things are important. And I think that the house and the property that you're going to be buying also plays a very big role in making sure that this this asset that you are trying to buy becomes a good investment. So it is location, right? That's why when you speak about 9 Palms and you speak about being in a smart city and in a place where there's access, in a place where there's walkability or to various amenities and services, that is important to somebody who is part of the market that you want to place a specific rental price to. You can't not have those types of features when it comes to your property, but want to charge a rental that may be outside of the expectation of your market, because you've got to give people value for what they're paying for, right? So for me, that's quite a big one. Location is always going to be a big one. I think also buying a new development, we've seen that it has its pros. One of the biggest pros of buying a new development is that you're not going to be paying any transfer costs, and you're especially if you're buying straight from the developer, you're not going to be paying any transfer costs. You're not going to be paying any transfer duty. Even on a house over R1 million when it comes to 9 Palms, because it is you buying directly from the developer, right? So that's quite great for a property like this. All of these little things, they really build up in making sure that we keep your cost of purchase as low as possible, because if you're going to work around what your ROI is, right, you need to do a rental yield calculation. And often a lot of us make the mistake of we only look at the purchase price. So we only look at what the bond amount is, or what is the total cost, or rather not even say total, what is the price on the actual property. But what we do need to look at is holistically, what is the cost of purchasing of that investment. And the best way to do it is to make sure that where you don't need to pay additional costs, you don't. That is why buying into a property like a 9 Palms, which is a new development, you're buying directly from the developer, you would not be paying things like transfer duties and transfer costs. So that's quite exciting. And if, for instance, you're buying again from the developer, it means that the price that you see there usually already includes the VAT. So you can actually pay that price. That's the one you get. So there's not going to be additional VAT that is going to be added on to those rates. Then there is something that happened to me, for instance, when I moved into my house. When I came and I saw the house and I loved it, and I was like, okay, no, I can afford this house and all of that. What I did not factor in is the fact that when I moved in here, there was a whole lot of features that still needed to be put into the estate. So things like security, on-site and off-site security. We needed to put in security beams. We needed to upgrade, a whole lot of things that all of a sudden needed money to come from the owners of the properties. So they were not coming from the levies that we're paying every single month. So when you've got a new development, first and foremost, some of these things already come stock standard, and you can actually ask about them. And at 9 Palms, I know that they've got security. So these are some of the things that you already could, you can kind of predict what the costing would look like, very minimal if it's a new house, finishes. If you're buying an old house, for instance, the finishes are already there, they're already established. Whereas with a new house, you can say, you know what, the market that I'm trying to go for likes a certain look in the house. It likes certain colors. I'm going for a trendy market, so let me put in some trendy colors in there, So you get to shape the house to try and aesthetically bring up the price of the house. So these are all of the things that would really assist you in ultimately, first and foremost, lowering the cost of purchase. So it's smart ways to lower the cost of purchase, lowering the running costs, right? Because if you're in a sectional title and you're paying a levy, but you are buying a new development that has modern technology, modern security, modern access points, you don't have to replace those things. So your running cost in terms of your levy would really be to maintain the common property and the overall investment asset that you guys all have bought into. So it won't be special levies that are popping out of nowhere, So it's always a good thing to look at those things, because ultimately what you want to work out is what is your rental yield. So what you are charging as a rental cost, you want to make sure. And remember, when you work out your rental yield, you've got to factor in sometimes, because it happens. And I mean, when I work out my rental yield of my second property, for instance, for the first 8 months, I didn't have a tenant. we struggled to get a tenant. It was tough. And this was even before COVID hit us and we're in a hard lockdown. So that, again, I had to factor it into that year's rental yield, that there was a no income that was coming in. So ultimately, when I was doing the formula, I had to factor in that this was my total annual receivables from rental versus what I had actually paid to purchase and run the actual property. So often what many of us make the mistake of doing is we will calculate the gross rental yield instead of the net rental yield. And the net rental yield is ultimately what is going to give you a clearer picture of what is actually happening when it comes to your investment. So I'm hoping I've given you something to chew on. Do check out Nine Palms if you are interested in being an owner or even an investor property owner. Right? Yes. Whether you're interested in being an owner buyer or an investor buyer, do check them out on the Rabie Property Group website. It's going to be down below here. And let's find out if you are going to be buying a good investment or not. I'll see you guys on the next one. Do remember, none of my videos constitute as financial advice.